Welcome to the 410 podcast. Today is a very special day. Obviously, it's not one of our live streams, but it is an interview, and we have a very special guest. But before we dive into that, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share, get this out because this is a must-watch interview. And without further ado, let's introduce our guest today, Mr. Arlie Hitt. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Gio. I'm good. Mondays are going to Monday, but I'm doing well. How are you?
Hey, well, when people hear this, it might not be Monday, but
That's true. Yeah.
hopefully their Monday went well. I'm good. Thanks for asking. It's been a hectic one. We just kicked off the Super Soccer League, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, and the seasons are rolling. The leagues are starting to kick up, and it's tournament season's wrapped up. So I'm excited for what's to come. I'm very excited. But Arlie, could you tell us about who you are, what team you play for? Give us a little bit of background on you.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. My name's Arlie Hitt. I am one of the founders of Sláinte Athletic. Me and six other individuals kind of run the show with the team. So it's kind of who I am, who I'm with.
Cool. All right. Well, let's dive. You said you're a founder of Sláinte Athletics. For those that don't know and are either new to the DMV area or just discovering us, which I don't know how, but if you are, Sláinte is a team playing in Division Two of the Super Soccer League, and a powerful team, I must add. I'm not just, as the young kids say, I'm not glazing. I'm just saying. I'm calling it how it is. Arlie, tell us about the background of this team. How did this team form?
Sure. So we started up about a year and a half ago at this point. We actually didn't come in as Sláinte Athletic. A couple of the guys on the team now and myself started playing about 3 years ago, actually in a co-ed league, and we all really didn't have our footing after we got back home from school. There was no kind of amateur leagues we were involved in, so co-ed was the best we got. Eventually, one of the guys on our team brought us to the BCRP Amateur League, which is what we play in now, aside from the Super Soccer League, and that team has pretty good representation in there. Das Beer Hall was another one of the teams that was in that league, which is kind of how we found out about the Super Soccer League. But we kind of segued into that amateur men's league. From there, we built our own team, and we went under the alias of Old Castle United. That probably carried over about 75% of the core members that Sláinte has today. So we started there. A lot of our guys were starting to look for competition outside of just that amateur league. So we talked to the guys from DAS, and they recommended the Super Soccer League. So we started doing some digging. First thing was establishing a fully recognized team. And when you start to look at the financial complications of running a team like this, you realize that you don't want to necessarily put the burden on the players. So we started reaching out. A lot of us live local to Baltimore City in the Canton and Fells area. So ideally, we weren't looking for an individual to sponsor us. It was more so something that was community-based. So I started reaching out to a lot of the local bars or restaurants in the area. And the first one to hit us back was Sláinte over in Fells Point, which was the best case scenario. I mean, their logo is literally made for soccer. They are a soccer bar. Their motto is soccer is religion. So it was kind of a match made in heaven. They immediately responded back to us within a couple of days' time, and we kind of worked out the logistics. And from there, we had our sponsor deal. So we started off in the BCRP League, finally under the name Sláinte Athletic. Found our footing there, and then from there we went to the DMV Copa, had our first season in the Super Soccer League, finished up a Winter Cup, and now here we are. So year and a half in the making, but things are going well.
Hey, look, a lot of those teams have very similar stories where they come from, like the co-ed, then the amateur, and then into the, let's call it the elite amateur, semi-pro, what have you. It's very interesting. It's very interesting for sure, and it's probably the most natural journey. So, but the fact that you guys started off with a sponsor, I tip my hat off to you because a lot of teams put the burden on the players right off the
Mm-hmm.
back. And the fact that you guys started off with a sponsor is fantastic. And not only just a sponsor, but a sponsor that goes by the motto, football is religion. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
Um,
they're a great group. They've had our back since day one. And like I said, a lot of the guys, some of them didn't even play in college. So it was kind
mm,
of pulling the guys out that we played with since childhood to come play for this team. A big pull obviously was there's no player dues. So come and join and, just have fun, kick around with the guys like we used to, and then it turned into a full-fledged team. So it's really when you look back on the journey, there's a lot to be happy about.
So interesting question. This might throw us down a rabbit hole, but interesting question. Did you see that fact that there's no players dues add a layer of like not holding the players accountable?
That's a good question. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's difficult. It's a really good tool to use when it comes to recruitment because a lot of players, the whole thing
Mm-hmm.
about U.S. soccer is the financial requirements of playing. It sucks. Growing up in the U.S., that's the worst part about the sport is that it's a kind of a pay to play method. And that's
Mm-hmm.
not the reason, we don't have the player dues. We're just fortunate enough to have sponsors that take care of us.
Right.
But as far as holding players accountable, it really doesn't have an issue with it. It's more so at this level, if you want to play, you'll find a way to play. That's the thing. We're not paying our guys. No one's paying. A lot of teams aren't paying their guys in these kind of leagues. It's more so just to stay in shape, have fun, stay competitive, and play in leagues that, are high level of competition. And that's the big pull for us, I think.
Yeah, no, I asked because when I think about my experience, it was a lot of it was pay to play until you got to a certain level, and then it was just
Hmm.
now it wasn't pay to play, but you still had your spot to safeguard, right? If you slipped up a little bit, they'll cut you real quick. So it's definitely a different world just hearing that alone because in the early stages of any team, it was a pay to play model. So that's
Right.
good it's turning around.
I like to think we do things a bit differently. It's definitely, I guess if you go back to that point of accountability, just because you paid on certain teams means you have a spot with us. We don't necessarily treat it like that. We take our best 18 that are ready for the match
Hmm.
day and, we take them in. Now, we got a nice big pool of guys in terms of who's on the squad to select from, so that really helps. And it's nice. Even the guys that don't make the match day roster, they're still committed. They're still going to be at the game or watching the game or supporting in some fashion. So having that kind of environment on a team, it helps. It's nice.
Yeah, for sure. I can only imagine. So let's go back to the history of the club. So you guys got your name after you guys got your sponsor Sláinte. Is there any other? Obviously, for those that don't know, it's a very Irish bar, right? The background is Irish. Is there any Irish attachment to the club, or is it just because of the sponsorship?
Really just because of the sponsorship. There's
Hey,
no, we have a guy from Ireland. We did have two guys that played with us in the fall that were from Europe. But besides that, there's no like
come
Irish
on, man.
backed club, Irish based club. Yeah, sorry.
That's
Don't
like
mean to
the perfect
disappoint.
recruitment strategy
I
right
know.
there, man.
Yeah, we
No,
don't
that's
really take
how that's
advantage of
how it
that.
was. That's how it was back in the day, right? Like, so
Hmm.
I'm dating myself here, but a lot of the teams were focused on the nationality, right? You either had your Italians, your Germans, your Spanish clubs, and stuff like that. So that's the only reason why I asked. But good to know. Good to know.
Yeah, no, we do things a bit differently. It's not, I guess, culture based in terms of where people are from. We kind of like to do things community based. So I think having Sláinte as a sponsor, especially because of where it's at in Fells, you can't miss it. Whether you're on a night out or out there during the day, it's a big red sign that has Sláinte on, so you can't miss it. And I think having our team tied to that pub brings in folks from the area, which is kind of what we're about. Having your team primarily based out of a certain part of a popular city,
Hmm.
it has its advantages.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So now that was your early days. You've now since transitioned into a higher level competition in the Super Soccer League. You're in Division 2, but before we talk about Division 2 and your first season there, let's talk about what was that transition like going from amateur to this higher level competition.
It was difficult. Our first higher level competition besides the amateur league was actually the DMV Summer Copa last summer. And we had probably the worst first possible game. It was the same day as the Euro finals and the Copa America finals, and it was one of the hottest days of the summer. So you have a big group of guys that haven't played 90 minutes since college, which for most of us was, 2 to 3 years, some longer than that haven't played 90 minutes in that amount of time. So you go from playing, 30, 60-minute matches, 30-minute halves to, now you're playing at a higher competitive level with a 90 minutes, 45 minutes half.
Yeah.
And it's also 100 degrees. It's probably 105 on that turf. So it was a really difficult switch, from a fitness aspect, lessons were learned, but you kind of go against higher quality teams. And that's not talking down the BCRP league. If I had to say what was one of the most competitive amateur leagues, it's that BCRP league. There is a ton of talent in that league. It's Baltimore based. It's in the city. Baltimore's obviously a huge soccer town, and that includes the county. So that league was probably the best possible scenario in terms of prepping us for a higher level of competition. I mean, we were going against a lot of former D1 athletes, some guys that played professional in some capacity, and they came back and still wanted to play. So we're going against really good teams in that amateur league. So by the time we switched over to, that DMV Copa in that instant, it was a difficult switch because of the fitness and the the length of play. But when it came to the quality of teams we're facing,
Mm-hmm.
some of those teams in that amateur league could give some Super Soccer League teams a run for their money. So we'd like to kind of, advertise the Super Soccer League to some of those other teams in the amateur league saying, hey, come join because, they're going to put up a good fight if they do.
Come on, man. Be the spokesperson for us.
I'm trying. A lot of the guys in the Super Soccer League have, a lot of those guys started there. Some of the guys on Bullies did. Some of our guys did. Das is obviously in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So that league's gaining a lot of traction. Bullies is actually in it now. So it's, there's a crossover between the Super Soccer League and the BCRP Amateur League, and it's really neat to see, especially because it is Baltimore based. And Baltimore being such a soccer city, it's huge.
Yeah, we have to formalize that. We'll talk about that because
Yeah, there's
because that
partnership
needs
right
that
there.
needs to happen. That needs to happen. Because Baltimore City has had soccer for so long. There's been so many different leagues and just so much talent here. I feel like it gets overlooked. So that's why I'm really excited for Division Two. And I'll ask this question when we get to that segment. But there's definitely a match I've circled on my calendar. We'll talk about it. We'll talk
All
about
right.
it. All right. So let's talk about fall. Your first season, fall 2024, right? How was that season? Tell us about it.
It was, if I had to use one word to describe it, long. That's our first time we were fighting on two different fronts because, again, we had the BCRP League on Wednesdays and we had the Super Soccer League on Sundays. Fortunately, we had a big squad that was able to balance both of those days, but, injuries are no joke. And
Yeah.
that's the first time, and I guess it's the best time for us to experience an injury crisis was that fall. Had a lot of roadblocks, a lot of obstacles in front of us. Some of our big players getting hurt, missing games, whole seasons. It was difficult. So I'm really proud of how it ended. It was bittersweet at the end there, missing out on promotion by a 90th minute handball. It's as unfortunate as it gets, but the fact that we were in that situation with, what was in front of us with injuries and absentees and stuff like that, it was, you hold your head up after something like that. So
Yeah,
it
of
was a big
course.
transition. The season, like I said, it was long, but there were a lot of lessons learned during it. It was the first competitive season for a lot of our guys since college ball. So I think it made the guys a bit more hungry, especially losing out on promotion like that. And after the season we had, the guys are really amped up for the spring. So it's exciting times.
So because I had Austin earlier, right, and we talked about those two games against you guys, I would love to get your side of the story because
Sure.
I heard the atmosphere was great. I wasn't there myself. I definitely saw it,
hmm
but I didn't experience it. Talk to me about those two games against Bowleys.
Yeah, so the first one, there was an atmosphere to it for sure. I think both our social medias did a good job of kind of advertising the game as a DME sports media. We had this game pretty publicized on everyone's radar, so it drew a few more eyes to it, whether that be online or in person. So the first game, there was definitely an atmosphere. A lot of the guys going into the game on both sides, Bullies and ours,
Mm.
were familiar with each other. So that kind of added an extra layer to it. So the first game was good. I think we lost 2-0 that game. And then the second game was really where the atmosphere kicked up. If there was two high atmosphere games in the Super Soccer League in the fall for Division Two, it was that game, the second Bullies matchup, and the promotion final.
Mm.
That was crazy. The Eastern Regional, a lot of our guys played there growing up as kids. And, you just remember playing in your rec days with your parents watching. And then next thing you know, you're in your mid-20s and the fences are lined with parents, friends, and you're like, oh, God, this is a pressure cooker. So it was really neat. It's unfortunate the way it ended. I mean, we went end to end for 80 some odd minutes until they found the winner. But that was a high pressure game. But that's kind of what you play for now. You want to
Yeah.
be in those kind of games, not some 5-0 stomping win. You want to be in those 85th minute, it's tied 0-0, and you want to be the person that scores that goal and wins that kind of game. Now, if we move on to the Ambition game, which was the promotion final, I don't want to get ahead of
Hmm.
myself, but I feel like this conversation was going to go there eventually.
No, go for it, because
Cool.
that's where it was going.
Awesome. Yeah, that game was, when it comes to atmospheres, that was right up there with the Bullies game. Parents, friends, everyone was there. And then Ambition did a really good job of bringing a lot of their their academy players there, all ages from smaller children to high school kids. The fences were lined with their fans. If it was a derby day, we weren't at home. I'll tell you that right now. There was a lot of fans that were not on our side that day. We went up 1-0. There were a lot of boos.
It's
Francio,
fantastic.
who was the one that scored the first goal, went and started blowing kisses to children that were booing him. So, you love to see stuff like that. That's awesome. Like I said, it's unfortunate the way we ended, but it was an atmosphere that's exciting to play in, and that's all you can ask for at this level.
No, like I'm telling you, people don't understand the difference of playing in atmosphere, even if it's 100, couple 50. I mean, just an atmosphere that engages with you. As a player, you shouldn't engage with the atmosphere because you want to focus. You start doing that, you lose track of what's going on. But the opportunities there, and when you have an atmosphere, it just adds to the game so much. It's People don't understand. That's why I'm telling teams that they need to create that atmosphere. They need to do uh, a little bit more to create that atmosphere. Obviously, DMV Sports Media, we're going to try to bring people out and the Super Soccer League, but teams, like, I encourage, cultivate that that community that will come out and support you. Because I mean, listening to you talk about that celebration, it just makes me laugh, and I can only imagine the kids' reactions to that. And then obviously you throw on the flip side when they score. I mean, what was that reaction, right? It's wild. Playing with atmosphere is definitely something. All right, so
It
you
was
guys
neat, and
just go ahead.
so at
No,
that
go for it.
game, going back to the atmospheres, it's definitely encouraging because when you score that goal in an atmosphere like that, it gives every goal just a bit more intensity to it and a bit more meaning. And you said when they scored their goal, especially that final penalty that they scored, that place went nuts. Same thing with the Bullies game. When they scored their winner, that place went crazy, and that's what you play for. It's a lot of fun to be in situations. It's not fun when you're losing. I'll tell you that firsthand right now. It feels like a gut punch, but playing in those atmospheres is what it's about.
No, but that's two gut punches, man. That hurts,
Yeah,
man.
it happens,
That
man.
hurts. It does
Sometimes the
happen. It
ball
does
doesn't go
happen.
your way.
Sometimes it doesn't. But you guys are back in it, right? You are again going for round two on for the spring. Starting technically, the season's already started with our opener this past Sunday. But now you guys will be kicking off this weekend. Tell me, what's the mindset going into spring 2025?
There's like a redemption arc in it. I feel like we left a lot on the table last fall, and the guys know that. And this is kind of our chance to right the ship. We had our errors, and there were a lot of lessons learned in the fall. A big issue we had was letting teams back in. Like we go up one goal, and then for 2 minutes we would switch off, and that was taken advantage of. Teams came back and kept sneaking up on us because we didn't put them out. So a lot of lessons learned. I think that Division Two this season got more competitive. And that's a good thing. There's going to be more games like that Bullies game, like that Ambition game, because the stakes are going to be higher. I think that there is going to be a really tight battle between really 1 through 7. I feel like last season, the top half of the table kind of had their own thing going. And towards the latter stage of the season, there was a clear front three. This season, I don't think it's going to go that way. I think that there is really a balance of power spread across the league. I think everyone's going to finish around each other, and it's going to be something that no one's going to want to miss in terms of watching this level of soccer. It's going to be fun. I think it's going to be super tight between 1 through 7, and there's no clear winner. I mean, obviously, we're going to get everything we have. We're excited to be playing against this level of competition, but I think we have the extra edge because of what happened in the fall. And I think that there is something that we left on the table that we got to go back and do right this season.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know Division One is like Division One, right? It also is packed with teams, but something about this Division Two is just so juicy. So you guys, we added Touch Kings, we added MSI Pro and Baltimore City, two teams that play in the UPSL, which will continue to play in the UPSL. But from what I'm hearing is it's their roster's big enough that they need to, give their players playing in both. So you'll be playing against UPSL rosters, and then on the flip side, Baltimore City is coming into the league. They play in the Eastern Premier League, now known as the American Premier League. Obviously, is adding to the level of Division Two. And I honestly look at the roster, and from what I'm hearing about Peru United, they've added pieces to them. MPS Football also added new pieces, and it just looks like it's going to be super competitive. But there's two matches that I circled, and that's you guys versus Baltimore City. And the reason I circled it isn't have to do with anything to do with level of play or anything. It's more to do with you guys are both based in Baltimore. Could we see this turn into a rivalry?
Yeah, I mean, we faced each other twice already. The first time
Right.
was that horrible hot game on the day of a final. It was a
Yeah.
1-1 draw. Honestly, both teams just tried to get through that game as best they could, just trying to scrape out a win despite it being as hot as it was. That was difficult. That second game in the Morton Cup, it was the first game in the group stage. That was a good game. I think our teams are gonna, there's gonna be a few fireworks during that game. I think that there was a bit of anger after that game ended because of the way it did. There was no hostility in it. It's just that, it was a tough game. It was really back and forth, and both teams felt like they should have won, and that's how it should be when you're going to a rivalry. But like I said, we're both based out of Baltimore. A lot of us, have played Volo or drive past that field every day where their home field is over, and I think it's Latrobe.
Mm-hmm.
So we're familiar with who they are, and they're familiar with who we are. And I'm not saying there's going to be a rivalry, but it definitely very much could go that way. I think it's possible with who we have on their team and who they have on their team and where we're at. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that turns into something.
I needed to turn into something. I mean, come on, it's a Baltimore City rivalry. That's what I'm asking for. You guys are obviously based in Fells. They're in Locust Point, which is just across the bay. But it would be so fantastic to make it a thing. I'm gonna make it a thing. It's gonna be my mission to make it
Go
a
for
thing.
it. Yeah. I mean, I think we have them later in the season. I think we have them either week 7 or 9. So you're going to have to
Hmm.
be patient. I mean, by that time,
No, but I have
teams are kind of going to
seven to
understand
nine
where they're
weeks
at.
to. I have
Yeah.
7 to 9 weeks to build the narrative.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Depending on how the season goes, it could be us or them fighting for top spot. It could
Yeah.
be, you're not like I said with Division Two and the teams that you guys brought in the season. You don't know who's going to end up where. So that game could
Mhm.
have just an extra level to it when it comes to the later end of the season. So it's exciting. We're going to give it a go. We'll see what they have, and we'll just take it to them.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure you're looking to test your team against all the teams coming in. But with that being said, do you have any expectations of the new teams joining or any of the teams returning?
Yeah, I know that the old team's returning. Definitely, everyone recruited well in this off season that we had from the fall until now. We saw a bit of a showcase in that Winter Cup with some of the teams that are joining and some that are returning, and those rosters look similar to what they were, but there was also a good few additions. There's this weird, not it's like a transfer portal, I guess, in these lower leagues where a lot of us are going for the same guys. We'll have players come out and try with us, and they'll say, we were contacted by this other team that's also in the league. So everyone's recruiting really well. Everyone kind of has the same mindset of getting better, and no one is shy of trying to win this league this season, and that's what you want to see. So yeah, it's exciting times in Division Two, and I really think that we're going to be a force to reckon with.
I'm excited for y'all. I know you're in my mind. You should be one of the favorites, right? Because one, based on your performance, and I know you weren't too happy about the Morton Cup, but the way your Winter State Cup runs went, but more so Division Two last year, and you guys were just on the cusp of promotion. So I definitely think you guys are one of the powerhouses in Division Two, and I'll be looking forward to it. Obviously, your goal is probably promotion. Is it promotion?
No, it's winning the league. I mean, promotion's going to come with that, but the goal of the season is to win. It's to win all 10 games and get out of the group, go to Division One next season, and go from there. But we want that trophy. We feel everyone on our team feels like we deserve it, and now's the time.
Nice, love to see it. All right, so we're gonna play a little game here. We're gonna play a little game of quickfire here. So don't think about it too much. This is all in good fun. And a preempted apology to your teammates here, but I'm just gonna ask you a few questions. First name that pops in your head, you just tell me who they are, and then we go from there. All right? Or it doesn't have to be a person. It could be a memory or whatever. Let's start with who's the best dressed person on your team?
Best dressed person on our team, Francio. I would
That's
say it's
fair.
probably Francio. We have every now and then we'll all go out, whether it be for Thursday night or for some kind of Premier League watch party, and he's dressed to the nines. He's always wearing something. Somebody always a comment on his fit, so I would probably say it's him.
All right, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Who has the
But for the
worst
most part, a lot of our
celebrate?
guys go out. A lot of our guys go out in like sweatpants or stuff like that. So, we're not dressing to impress. We're dressing to be comfortable.
Hey, that's fair. You know what? You got to do what you got to do on a night out, right? Just to make it.
Yeah.
Who would you say has the worst celebration?
Logan Funk. Logan Funk. Because he just kind of smiles and then walks, and then maybe he'll throw, like a bicep up, and that's kind of it, and then he'll just keep walking. But yeah, worst celebration is probably got to be him. It's not fun to watch. There's no hype around it, dude. He just kind of scores and walks backwards to the touchline. Do something,
Maybe
you
he
know?
just is like, I'm that cool. Like I don't need to do anything.
I don't know. I've known Logan for a
No,
while. He's the
not
furthest
buying
thing
it.
from humble. He's got to do something.
All right, fair, 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 fair. All right, best club moment, best club memory.
Easy. So Gavin Mooney, I think it was like a 94th minute winner against Etihad. That kind of, so
Mm,
you want to talk about a rivalry. I think us and Etihad are also going to be something to watch. We played each other a lot. I think we've had 3 bouts now. We've come up
mm-hmm,
victorious all 3, but they've been tight games. And that summer Copa, that game, easily the most memorable one we've had so far since we've started.
mm-hmm.
I think every time we scored, they'd answer. And then eventually they got the upper hand, went up 4-3. And then at the 86th minute, Adam Ramos comes up big and draws. And then the 93rd minute, Gavin sneaks one in the back of the net. And that was a big deal. That was our first win at a high level competition. And that was
Mm.
really, really cool to experience. So I think so far, best moment, hands down that.
I mean, that first win is something about it, man. That first win
Yeah.
at a high level competition, you're just like, it's just so sweet. It's so sweet. And I always get that, or like a championship, right? Something like that would be the memories that I hear most. But yeah, that's fantastic. All right, who has the worst taste in music?
Tanner Babishkin, easily,
Can I
easily.
ask what kind of music?
I don't even know, man. It's
Just a mix.
like imagine the worst UK drill
Uh,
or just the most
what is it
outlandish
about
rap you
UK
can hear.
drill?
UK drill can be good. He listens to bad UK drill. I don't know what he puts on his radio when it comes to taking the off. It's awful.
That's hilarious. All
Yeah,
right,
it's
and we're
better
gonna
that that
leave.
stays in his car.
Stays in his car. Hey,
Yeah.
that's a fair shout. All right, so we're gonna leave it here with this last question. Who would be on your 3v3 team?
Danny Hollowell, first off, that kid is lightning. Hands down, one of our best players. He was a big miss in the fall. He went down in warm-ups that first Bullies game, and I think that was match week 4, and he was done for the season. He came back in the Morton Cup firing. He had a pretty unrealistic amount of goals and assists out of that group stage. He
Man.
scored the 1 goal in that semifinal. He's going to be, if there's a person to keep an eye on the rest of the season, second one's going to be BP. He's a new pickup we had in the winter. Really made a name for himself in the Morton Cup. Kid's got techers. He can beat anyone one-on-one, in my opinion. He's smooth. He's really smooth on the ball. Definitely taking him. And then that's 2 attacking-minded players. If we need Adam Ramos, for sure. He was our player of the year last year. The kid is an animal. If there's a last-ditch tackle to be made, it's him. If there's someone that's going to really go into a tackle, kind of like Brexit ballish, it's Adam Ramos. He's got no hostility in his tackles, but if the ball's there and you're running for it and he is too, he's going to win it and he's probably going to put you on the ground, which is what you want to see in your center back. I mean, that kid, he's a physical animal and he's fast and he will hunt you down. And, if you're taking a 3v3 team with Danny BP and Adam, you got a good mix of
I love
technical and strong.
I love that you stayed off the team. I love that. You were like, you know what? I'll give
Yeah,
the
I know my
spotlight to
place.
the. Hey, that's fair. That's fair. Hey, you know what? Humble's good. Humble's good. Well, Arlie, I appreciate you jumping on here. Anything you want to say before we sign off here?
Yeah, I got a few things to say. One, go to Sláinte. It's St. Patrick's Day on the day that we're recording this, so I would be doing it a dishonor if I didn't say to go to Sláinte and get a couple of Guinnesses. If you're in Grosse Pointe, of course, make your way there. Second thing is, if you're not watching Division Two this season, that's a mistake. It's going to be fun. There's going to be fireworks this season. It's going to be a good time. We kick off on the 30th. I think we kick off against Peru United. Last time we played them, I think it was a 2-0 loss. So we're both 1-1 against each other. It's going to be a fun game. Excited. Looking forward to it.
There you go. Well, thank you, my friend. Appreciate you jumping on here. Everyone, if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Go follow Sláinte. Go drink a Sláinte. And then definitely share this, comment, and engage. We appreciate you, everyone, and we will see you all on the next one.